This week, dozens of prominent Republican leaders joined Democrats in filing their own amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court opposing a Tennessee law that bars transition-related care for minors. In it, they write, states have no business overruling decisions of fit parents who make an informed medical choice for their children that is supported by their doctors, by the medical profession more generally, by the children themselves, and by their conscience. Back in June, the Supreme Court agreed to resolve challenges to the Tennessee law and hear arguments this upcoming term. It will be the first time the conservative majority court issues a ruling in the battle over transgender rights for minors. This comes as 26 states, including Tennessee, have introduced bills to restrict gender-affirming care in the last few years, and as the Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, continues to target the trans community and spread falsehoods about trans youth.
The transgender thing is incredible. Think of it. Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child. And, you know, many of these childs 15 years later say, what the hell happened? Who did this to me?
Joining me now is founder and CEO of Translash Media, Imara Jones. Thank you so much for being here. Now, first, we have to just say this. There is no evidence whatsoever that any school has allowed or facilitated a transition, a medical transition of any student with or without parental consent. There's no evidence that any surgeries are taking place on school grounds. Now, Trump's defenders just say this is hyperbole. He misplaced the word. If he changed a few words, then it would be right. How dangerous is the rhetoric coming out of the former president on this issue?
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a basis of U.S. law in so many places that parents speak for their children. So this idea that kids control, that schools control kids is made up. It's literally a fantasy. It's extremely dangerous. We know that the assault on trans people with the weaponization of government to target a specific group of people in the United States, specifically trans people, began as a part of a concerted effort under his administration. And we know that every year that he was in office, that year on year, anti-trans violence and anti-LGBTQ violence reached ever new heights during that particular time. And it's not only the physical violence, which we can keep track of, but it's also all of the forms of violence against the community, including cultural violence, policy violence, and political violence, in which this rhetoric creates the backdrop for that to have happened. And it's no surprise that increasingly paramilitary groups are picking up on his anti-trans messages.
Right. But, you know, Project 2025, which is the right-wing playbook that many of Trump's allies have contributed to, they're taking the rhetoric part and trying to make it more formal, putting it in writing and making more policy about it. Some of the policies they propose include rescinding regulations prohibiting discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, transgender status, and sex characteristics, rescinding Biden-era Title IX protections to LGBTQ plus students, and eliminating transgender health care in Medicare and Medicaid. Talk to us about the escalation here and how these policies are going to affect not just the LGBTQ plus community, but all of America.
Well, if we were going to spend the entire segment reading out the anti-trans portions of Project 2025, we could both just walk off the set. That would be in the entire segment of a voice of God going through it in that way. I think that what's really important here is to realize that the people that wrote Project 2025 and focused the anti-trans segments of it are the exact same people who were behind the anti-trans policies in the Trump administration, namely Roger Seferino. And before that was at the Heritage Foundation, which has become kind of a factory of anti-trans ideas in and of itself. And so this is a continuation. I think that one of the things that we're seeing is a surprise of Project 2025 right now, but it's a continuation of things that began under the Trump administration. And in so many ways, the roadmap for Project 2025 and the way that you weaponize the government to target a group of people began during the Trump administration with the focus on trans people. All they've done with Project 2025 is to expand the aperture to a much larger group of people. One other thing I want to say that's really important is that you cannot understand Project 2025 unless you understand the way in which anti-trans ideology is a motivation for the project in and of itself. It is in the foreword, the very first bullet is one that says that the role of government is to protect children and to protect the idea of the American family. And when that's explained on the next page, it's full of anti-trans rhetoric. And so the very first bullet on the very first page of Project 2025 is anti-trans. So you can't understand the rest of it unless you grasp that.
Wow. Let's go back to the amicus brief that the prominent conservatives filed. Were you surprised that they would take a position that is at odds with Trump?
Well, I think that this is a positive development, but it's not a balloon drop. And let me explain why. I think the entire way that we got here was because of this decade-long project that we've detailed at Translash Media that focuses on moving the idea of trans people as a political project by the Republican Party into the heart of American political discourse. Such that, I just checked before we came on, there's 652 anti-trans, not anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans laws introduced this year. And an anti-trans plank is in the Republican Party platform. I think it's number 17. So we have to look at the fact that this is essentially an anti-trans party. It's not a plank of the party, it's a pillar of the party. What we have seen, though, in the candidacy, for example, of Nikki Haley, is that there's a substantial number of dissidents in the Republican Party, right? Perhaps as much as 20%. Now, most of them will go home. But I think that one of the things that we want to keep in mind is that there are a substantial number of Republicans that are not on board with their overall agenda. It is not a surprise that they would find expression in this way in accordance with many libertarian ideas, but it does not represent where the Republican Party is.
I want to thank you so much for your time, for being here today. I really wanted to have this conversation. I'm so happy I could have with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.